The checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
On Monday, members of the government of Georgia considered amendments to be made to the law of Georgia on vehicle transport. Draft law has been developed within the scope of the reform implemented for the inland regular passenger transportation. Economy Minister Taktakishvili acknowledged the existence of many bus stations in the country where no standards are met and the quality of service is very low, adding the first stage of the reform for ensuring compliance with safety norms of transport vehicles was expected to be fulfilled by February 2024. The current situation affects the image of our country, the tourist sector, and of course our citizens cannot enjoy domestic long distance or international travel in such uncomfortable conditions, he added. In the first quarter of the current year, almost 1.3 billion cubic meters of natural gas was consumed in Georgia, of which almost 370 million cubic meters of gas were consumed by the thermal power plants. Compared to the corresponding period of 2022, the natural gas consumed by the thermal power plants has increased by 15.5%. As for the last year, the volume of natural gas consumed in Q1 2022 amounted to 1.2 billion cubic meters. According to the Ministry of Energy of Azerbaijan, 1.1 billion cubic meters of gas was exported to Georgia in 4 months of the year. The government of Georgia is imposing import duty on wheat flour for 5 months to support increasing the competitiveness of domestic producers and promote their sales on the local market. According to the Ministry of Agriculture, the tax would enter into force on June 10 and noted local production had increased by 60% over the last 2 years in a dynamic that was expected to be maintained. Next week, a draft resolution will be submitted to the government according to which an additional duty will be imposed on flour imports for a period of 5 months. Our main task is to maintain prices for bread at the same time sell the new harvest smoothly, Otashamugia said. The representatives of the business sector emphasized that the decision taken is a balanced position and will regulate the current situation in such a way that the price of bread will not increase. In 2022, the share of population under the absolute poverty line in Georgia decreased by 1.9 percentage points compared to the same period of the previous year and amounted to 15.6%, according to the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia. In 2022, the absolute poverty rate in urban-type settlements decreased by 2.7 percentage points and amounted to 12.3%, while in rural-type settlements it decreased by 0.7 percentage points and amounted to 20.6%. In 2022, the absolute poverty rate decreased compared to the previous year in all age groups of the population. Particularly, the indicator was 20.4% in the age group under 18 years. Absolute poverty rate for women decreased by 1.8 percentage points and amounted to 15.3%, while for men it decreased by 1.1 percentage points and amounted to 15.8%. Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili on Tuesday told a panel at the Bratislava Global Security Forum the European Union not granting Georgia its membership candidate status by the end of this year would be a big political mistake. Georgia will continue to move forward with all reforms, but I think that it's geopolitically difficult situation not granting the EU status to Georgia, which is a leading country in the association trio in terms of its work would be an unavoidable political mistake, Prime Minister of Georgia Irakli Garibashvili said at the Global Security Forum in Bratislava. He added, granting the status to the country would also ease its polarized domestic political environment and pointed to efforts to several domestic opposition groups to further deepen polarization by their fake campaign on the current government's alleged cooperation with Kremlin. EU member states expressed their opinion regarding the resumption of flights to Georgia. We discussed that the situation of Georgia cannot be considered in the same context as the situation of other countries. The Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development of Georgia, Vice Prime Minister Davitashvili, stated after the meeting with EU member states ambassadors. According to Davitashvili, sanctions are being enforced at the highest level at the Larsi customs exit point, and there will also be customs control at the airports. We had a very open, honest dialogue on the issues that are relevant for EU member states today. EU member states expressed their opinion regarding the resumption of flights to Georgia, and this was exactly the main subject of discussion. Although we discussed the current geopolitical situation in general, we discussed that the situation of Georgia cannot be considered in the same context as the situation of other countries, Davitashvili said. EU Ambassador to Georgia, Pavel Herchinsky, on Monday remarked on Russia's recent move to restore visa-free travel for Georgians and lift a ban on direct flights between the two countries imposed in 2019, as well as the Georgian government's response over it. Following a very open and frank conversation with Deputy Prime Minister and Economy Minister Davitashvili, Herchinsky told media outlets that all present EU ambassadors in Tbilisi expressed our concern that this decision is going against our decision to isolate Russia and to put pressure on Russia in order to change Russian behavior when it comes to the brutal aggressive war that Russia is still coming in Georgia, aggression war that Russia is still continuing in Ukraine. We have conveyed that we regret the decision of the Georgian government to accept direct flights with Russia. We have conveyed that this decision goes against the decision by all 27 EU member states not to have any direct flights to from Russia and not to allow the overflight of a Russian airplane on the territory of EU member states, the ambassador stated.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.